My name is Alexandra, or Lexi, whatever you prefer, and I recently started my PhD here at Queen Mary with Dr. Martin Benning. Um, yeah, that's about it.
Lexi, what is one exciting thing about being a mathematician?
Well, as I said, I kind of only started my PhD recently, so I don't know if I can yet talk about how it feels to be a mathematician, but something that I always thought was very exciting while I was studying was just this realization of how little we know and how much more there is to learn. And sort of whenever you learn something or have felt like you've understood something, it basically just opens up so many more questions, and you realize of how much more in this field there is to learn. And it's very exciting when finally sort of some pieces come together. And also I think this just makes me realize or like appreciate so much more the work that mathematicians before us have done. And I think just being, even if it's just the smallest part, like involved in this is just something that I think is very exciting.
Do you have a role model that motivated you to become a mathematician or someone you look up to? Or how was this impress your path?
So if it's okay, this is a more like a personal inspiration. This is actually my mother. Now, my mother is a theoretical physicist, and I think she, like much more than me nowadays, she had to deal with the underrepresentation of women in science. And I think I very much admire how she has handled that. I think she really just embraced being one of the only women in her field at the time. I think when she did like her undergrad, there were like maybe four other girls, and they have like dropped out. And then when she did her PhD, she was literally the only woman in the department. And um, yeah, I think she really just embraced being like the only woman in the department. She would like dress up with high heels and the hat and the dress and everything. And I just thought it was really cool. And yeah, there's also obviously stories where she wasn't treated maybe that well, like just small things. Like for example, she told me the story when they were still studying, like I don't know, undergraduate maybe. Um, she was the only girl, and in the lecture she would be knitting as she was listening to the lecturer explaining stuff. And next to her was a guy, and he was reading the newspaper. But the lecturer would only tell of her. He would be like, "You cannot knit in my lecture. You're not listening." He would tell her off, not saying anything about the newspaper guy. But then once they did the first exam, and she happened to be the best of the class, he allowed her to knit whenever she wanted, and the guy with the newspaper was not allowed to read the newspaper anymore. Yeah, but I think she just handled this whole thing really in a cool way, and I admire her for that.
Reflecting on the challenges in your career, is there any advice for aspiring or early mathematicians who are facing the same obstacles?
Um, so I again, I think I might not be in like the position yet to give advice, given this is kind of like early in my career. Um, but like, well, so I was a dancer before I switched my career and wanted to become a mathematician. And so therefore my advice is like that you can basically start at any time. Like if there is somebody who like thinks they have like chosen the wrong career or something, I think there is like, well, just not to be scared to try something else in life, even if it's not like the most obvious path. Um, yeah, I think that's that's my advice, just to try different things in life.
Do you think Queen Mary was a good place to study?
Yes, certainly. I think it's a very good place to study at. And also I think it, especially for the reason that I think it's very inclusive, and like there are so many people with different backgrounds from the students, but also the lecturers and the teachers. So I definitely enjoyed my time, and I don't think I've ever had a personal issue with anything regarding like inclusivity. So yeah.